You could be anywhere doing anything, but you're hanging out with us, and we appreciate that. So wherever you're listening and watching, and however you are listening and watching, we appreciate you guys. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of the Game Plan Podcast. Alex Goodwin is my name. You can follow me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. Again, on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. That's T as in tacos, S as in Kennedy Miller's favorite player, Solomon Hill, M as in Mavericks. Kennedy Miller.
Alexander Goodwin.
You like I did that? I told you I had one for you.
I came on this show in good faith. I had no problems today. We don't have a bleep button.
We don't.
I will not do it. But you know my true feelings for Solomon Hill.
I do. So
we have never been the same.
So Ken, where can the folks find you on Twitter?
You can follow me on Twitter, or X as they call it now, _ Kennedy Miller _ Again, that's _ Kennedy spelled a normal way, not like Kennedy Carter. _ Kennedy Miller _
Bro, you know, I was going to ask you about that because I was going to say you always say Kennedy with a Y and not an I, and I never thought you were going to have to say Kennedy with a CH.
Come on now. I've never seen that before. And you know, I've been watching her since she was like a freshman at A&M. I've been keeping up with her because I just tuned into one like women's college basketball game, and she was hooping, but I didn't know she had a little, she got a little spunk to her, which we'll get into later.
Absolutely. And joining us here, as he has done for the past 3 NBA Finals, friend of the show, family, Lamar Gafford, SinLawPreps.com. Lamar, how you doing today, dog?
And I'm good. Live from Birmingham. It is Lamar Primetime Gafford. So, I'm actually driving to South Carolina for a friend's wedding, and that's why I'm kind of doing these things remote for the at least for the first couple of games. So, but finally getting the chance to actually do the NBA Finals talk with my team in it, and we'll see how much they stress me out.
And you said you're in South Carolina. Things certainly went south for the Dallas Mavericks in game 1 because they fell 107-89 in game 1 of these NBA Finals. Jaylen Brown, 22 points, 7 of 12 from the floor. Luka Doncic led all scorers with 30 points and 10 rebounds, shooting 12 for 26 from the field. Lamar, this is your team, and your team took a whooping tonight. So, Lamar, like, just talk to us. How are you feeling right now? On a scale of 1 to 10, how worried are you?
Man, I mean, well, I could just say this. As bad as it looks, it's just one game. I mean, clearly the Boston Celtics were the team that was, they've been the more okay. They've been here before. Obviously, they were here 2 years ago. The Mavs, other than Kyrie, I don't think there's really been anybody that's been at this stage. So it was a rough night. I mean, the Celtics made everything, and it looked like the Mavericks were just out of sorts in most of the parts as well. I mean, whenever you have Luka having 1 assist in the ball game and the whole team only has 8 assists total, that's a big problem right there. And so those are just going to have to be some things here that they really got to make some adjustments here and there and see what they can possibly be able to do. Now, hopefully in game 2, they wake up and they come out a little bit better. But I think that there's going to be something that obviously Jason Kidd, he's going to have to try to make those adjustments here. Because the crazy thing is, even with Kidd as the head coach here, we really don't play well in game 1s, as crazy as that might even sound here. So we're normally a team that's basically reacting and all that stuff. But man, this one right here, I mean, this was a tough one. I'll go ahead and say that much.
I think one of the things that really caught me off guard is the fact that once you look at all the advanced numbers and even some of the raw numbers, you notice that the Boston Celtics have walked through these NBA playoffs, and Jason Tatum hasn't been playing his best basketball. Like Jason Tatum, if you go look at the numbers, he's shooting under 30% from behind the 3-point line. And they've walked through the playoffs. Again, Halliburton was hurt, Jimmy Butler was hurt, Donovan Mitchell got hurt, all those different sorts of things. True enough, right? But the fact that they've been able to pretty much breeze through at this point with little resistance, with Tatum not shooting the ball well, and without Porzingis. When Porzingis is back, Porzingis gave him 20 tonight, right? Jason Tatum only had 15 points, right? But they got a full total team effort from the whole roster. And from Dallas, I felt this game felt a whole lot like that first game one of that Clipper series, where it's like, all right, they're on the road and they just got bum rushed. And then from there, they made a little run in the third quarter, but then they couldn't sustain it, and then boom, right? Because my thing for Dallas tonight was, all right, they got down, what was it, 20, by as many as 27 in the second quarter, was it?
I think 27, 28, yeah.
So they got it down to around 21, 22 around halftime. Like, all right, cool. So from that point, you're like, all right, we now, by the end of the third, let's cut this down to 10. And then by 6-7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, let's hopefully have this down to maybe 6 or 7, and then we can go from there, right? They got it down to 13 midway through the third. Luka started cooking, and then by the end of the third quarter, it was back to a 20-point lead. The big thing for Dallas that I noticed was the only person who really was able to give them any sort of offense was Luka Doncic. And I think maybe some of that, well, I ask you, Ken, this. Do you think some of that is due to the fact that Boston decided we're not going to double Luka on ball?
I think that, I think Boston schematically and by personnel, right, especially with Kawhi kind of being hampered, they bring the best matchup defensively against Dallas, just because Gobert is kind of easier to exploit, especially with Luka and Kyrie going off ball screens. But Al Horford and Porzingis is kind of different. Porzingis is as good of a shot blocker. Al Horford, it can't stay in front of Luka, but he can kind of move his feet better, and so they're okay with switching that, or they're okay with, like fighting over it and trying to just play him one-on-one, right? And so, you're totally right. Like Luka got his, but a lot of guys weren't able to get off. And it's always, some point in the series, especially come later rounds, where a role player is going to have to win you a game, right? And like a role player has a game, right? This is the Porzingis game.
Right.
Porzingis comes back after missing 10 games, right? Scores what?
22.
He scored 22, had 3 blocks at the end of the first quarter, right? So he made an imprint on the game where Jason Tatum can play 42 minutes and finish with 16 points, right? And they win a game comfortably. And so, that was the thing going into this series. I thought that I predicted Boston to win. I thought Boston was a better team. I thought Dallas just had probably the 2 best closers in the series. And so I feel like if a game goes down to it, Dallas is going to close the deal. That was kind of the thing with Dallas and Minnesota, right? Like they get in these close games and it'd be a good fight, and down the stretch, Dallas and Minnesota Dallas knew where they wanted to go to down the stretch, and Minnesota kind of give the ball to Anthony Edwards, maybe Karl Anthony Towns shoots a shot. And I kind of feel that way with Boston too, because even on that run that Dallas got on, right, they kind of showed a little zone. It gave them a different look, right? Dallas ended up being able to push in transition. They knocked down a couple of shots, cut it to 9, so I think we'll see some more of that as the series goes on. But Boston is kind of susceptible too, right? Like they go through really good stretches where they look really good. Like they look like they're supposed to be the NBA champs. And then they go through that stretch that Dallas got on a run where they can't make a shot and they're turning it over and it's like, okay, are these dudes contenders or pretenders?
I think that's the thing about Boston that like all year long has been like my sticking point with them, right? And it has been my thing with Boston and really Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum for years, where it's like, okay, when you are hemorrhaging, when the other team is on a run and you need to stop the bleeding, what is your go-to? What is your go-to play, right? Like, do y'all have a baseline out of bounds? Do y'all go to get yourselves a good shot? Like, all right, boom, let's stop the bleeding right there. For years, they haven't. Tonight, again, they still don't have that, right? So, like, that is the scary thing. And, you know, they got a 27-point lead. They're at home. The role players are into it. The crowd is into it, right? So they're able to kind of stem the tide eventually, right? But when you're on the road and you don't have those same advantages, will you be able to stem the tide, right? Because, like, the thing about the NBA now, and I'm going to go to you, Lamar, in a second, is a 27-point lead is not safe, especially the way these dudes shoot the ball. A 27-point lead in 2008 or 9 might as well have been 50.
Oh, yeah.
A 27-point lead now might as well be 12, 15 tops, right? And we've seen Dallas has two dudes that when they get cooking and they get going, there's nothing you can do, right? Thing for Dallas, that Dallas is like, all right, if we just keep the game close, if it's close through 42, 43 minutes, we got two dudes we can hand the ball to, and we know they can get a bucket and they will get us a bucket, or at minimum, get fouled and get to the line. Boston, I know Jason Tatum's going to take a shot. It's probably going to be a contested shot. It's probably going to be like, what is it, that fall away 29-footer with a hand in his face from the elbow? Like, that's what the shot's going to look like. So, Lamar, my big thing, like, again, you're our Mavericks fan here, man. What's the adjustment for Jason Kidd?
True. I think at this point it's like, again, just trying to figure out, okay, who am I gonna play and all that stuff. So, like, for example, like he's kind of adjusted and trying to stagger out the minutes of Gafford and Lively. And then of course, you know, trying to see, okay, who can I play off my bench here? Do I use Exum, Dante Exum, who, yes, still in the league, by the way, guys, still in the league. Dante Exum, Jaden Hardy, you know, Josh Green, any of those guys, just trying to figure out, okay, what can I possibly do here? The good thing is it looks like Jaden Hardy had 13 points, so maybe he might use him a little bit more here. I don't know how many of those points came in garbage time, but maybe he might use him a little bit. I don't know. I will say at least Kidd knows how to react and knows how to push the buttons in order to make everything in his favor here. Because, of course, he did that in the Clippers series, did that in the Thunder series, and really did a very good job in the Timberwolves series here, where obviously they were in ball games, even though Minnesota always had like runs and runs and runs and runs, and then yet Dallas always found a way, especially in Game 5. So
Man.
I think that's something that he's going to have to do there.
Man, the biggest thing, and to go back briefly to that Minnesota series, was like there is an argument there that Minnesota should have won that series in 5 games. Like, there is a legitimate argument because Minnesota had the lead going to the fourth quarter in 4 of those 5 games.
Yeah.
Do I have that right?
Yeah.
And they just found ways to lose. They summoned the old spirit of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they became themselves again. Right? With Dallas, it's just like, you know, like Kennedy, like you said, are your role players going to step up, right? Derek Lively tonight, 18 minutes, 2 points, 5 rebounds, 5 fouls. What did they get out of PJ Washington tonight? 14. Oh, okay. He shot pretty well. He was the one guy who played well. 14 points, right? Kyrie Irving, 12 points on 6 of 19.
That's the problem.
That's because the way Dallas has this thing set up, they know they're going to get buckets, or at least they plan for buckets from Luka and Kyrie. It's kind of like a couple years ago we talked about, like, you know, when you're paying rent or whatever, you know what money's going to come in.
Mm-hmm.
You know we got Luka for 30. We know that's easy money. That money is going to be in the account on the first. We know we're going to have Kyrie for 25, 26, right? We know that money's going to be in the account. PJ Washington for 20 or 25, that's a refund check in college, baby. We didn't expect that money to be here, right? Daniel Gafford giving us 15 points and 15 points. That's money we found under a seat cushion, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Kyrie Irving doesn't play well, and I don't know if it was because he was back in Boston and they were jeering him, and them folks in Boston or something. Like, I don't know, kid. I don't know how you feel about this. Win or lose, them folks are gonna make January 6th look like a kindergarten field day. Win or lose, okay? Whether happy or sad, they'll act up.
They're gonna give Peyton Pritchard or Sam Hauser a statue. Let them win.
Yeah, for sure.
They're gonna get a statue or something.
And what, Kyrie's on a 11-game losing streak against them? 11 straight games. He lost against Boston. I mean, I was just gonna say that was the most glaring thing. It's like, you know, he's got to come to play. And I think, I don't want to get like too like narrative based into it, but that's why Kyrie is so hard to judge and to like rank all time, right? Because the things that he does, you're like, I don't know if there's 10 basketball players ever that can do some of the things that he does with the basketball, right? Tough shot maker, elite shot maker, right? And obviously has done it on the biggest stage. But games like he had today happen too much. And because he made one of the biggest shots in NBA history, I feel like a lot of it gets masked, like has been masked over time. Because, okay, he made a shot in 2016. It wasn't like his teams haven't made the playoffs since then. Like, he's been in the playoffs. And he's had teams that are capable of winning more than they did. Matter of fact, he was on a team that played in the arena that he was in tonight that was more than capable of winning more games than they did. Not when he got hurt and they went to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, but the next year when they brought him and Gordon Hayward in, and I think they win the first game against Milwaukee and don't win another game.
They got smoked against Giannis and them boys, smoked them.
You know what I mean? Like, somebody of his talent, right, has had too many stinkers in playoff games. And I'm not going to say he gets a pass for it because the media really doesn't like Kyrie, but we don't talk about it a lot. And I don't know. I really can't put my finger on why. It's not like he just takes like these like incredibly tough shots, like how you brought up like Jason Tatum, right? Like Jason Tatum don't get to like a 29-foot contested jump shot.
Yeah.
You know, when times get tough. It's not like we know that Kyrie's gonna do that. But it's like you look up, like I'm watching the game and I'm like, wait a minute, like, where's Kyrie? Like, what are we doing?
I think something you said, you don't know why the media doesn't talk about it. Well, because for the last 4 or 5 years, they've been talking about a whole lot of other stuff with Kyrie.
For sure.
Most of it having nothing to do with basketball, right? And you know, it is very interesting to me when this is the best Kyrie Irving has played in almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Like locked in, focused. And I think this is why at a certain point, white people are or were so rough on him because he is this good. And we're like, dude, you are a phenomenal basketball player. And the wildest thing was last year, you realize really what it was. The Brooklyn Nets gave him away for a Section 8 housing voucher and a Subway coupon. He was probably, last year's free agent class was a really weak group. He was the best free agent that was available in the market, and no one wanted him. No one wanted him. Like, that's where it was with Kyrie. Some of it just broadly being unreliable. Some of it because of injuries and all of the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes without saying, they don't have a chance of winning the series without him playing well. I think they'll play a lot better in game 2. I think the Mavericks are probably going to win game 2, and I feel like they're going to a lot like they did in that first round series against the Clippers, where they're going to come out a lot tougher with a much higher sense of urgency. And I think they probably get game 2. Even if they don't get game 2, I still feel like they've got a shot because Dallas is a really good team at home.
They are. I mean, they are a good team, and I think, like you brought up the role players. Boston is gonna what makes them good this year is especially with the Porzingis addition. I want to say the stat was they shoot over 33s or 43s. They've
40.
only lost.
It's 40.
They've only lost 4 games. Like they're on a 70 game trajectory if they did that the entire season, a 70 win trajectory if they did that the entire season, right? They're just going to put up shots. They're just going to put up, I don't know how many they finished with, but I know at least with 6 minutes left, they had 41 threes. They had shot 41 threes. Like they're going to keep putting them up, right?
They shot 42.
They shot 42. You brought up the role players for Dallas. Those role players really don't start making an impact unless both of those two guys get it going. So, then Derek Lively and Gafford and PJ Washington, in the weak side corner, become very important when Luka and Kyrie are getting downhill and they're creating and they're able to make stuff happen. Then you're worried about the lobs, and then you're worried about the extra help and skipping over to the weak side corner. That's when those guys really become dangerous, right? And, Dallas is a good defensive team as well. But Boston, just has bodies. They have bodies that they can throw at those guys. Like Drew Holiday is probably, he is one of, if not the best perimeter defender in the league, right? Jaylen Brown is no slouch on defense. Jason Tatum can move his feet and can stay in front of, I'm not going to say he can contain, but he can stay in front of Luka, right? He's somebody that you would be okay with if you were coaching, be okay with guarding Luka. Same with Jaylen Brown. So they've got these guys, right? Derek White, you can put on Kyrie for a time. And so they're going to make it tough, and they're going to try and not get themselves into rotation. I mean, just stay in front, fight over, go underneath the screen, stay attached to Luka, stay attached to Kyrie, and then live with the results. But once you get them going downhill, then it's almost wraps because Gafford and Lively, too athletic. PJ, Dante Exum, and Josh Green are shooting the ball well this year. So they just have too many weapons once they all get it going. But I do agree with you. Boston they just don't really feel like a true champion to me. You know what I mean? I couldn't have guessed that these two teams would have been in the finals. I really couldn't have.
I would have guessed Boston.
I would have, knowing the injuries, right? But if you told us at the beginning of the year, I knew they would be really good. I knew they'd be a really good regular season team. I didn't know if they could really get past Milwaukee, right? If there was a healthy Giannis and Dame, I would have loved to see that matchup. Don't get me started on Dame.
No, hold on. You know what I was going to say? You know what I was going to say? Even with Giannis and Dame, look, they hired Doc Rivers mid-season.
No.
And Doc Rivers ain't never seen a lead he couldn't blow.
I was saying at the beginning of the year, before they got Doc.
Okay.
And when they got Doc, it's a different story. When they got Doc, it's a different story. But before they got Doc. And so, I was just interested to see, how it would all work out. But they made it, right? Dallas made it in the West. And I remember we did a show a couple of weeks back, and I said, this was, I think, towards the end of the second round. I said, regardless, whoever comes out the West is going to win the championship.
Yeah.
I didn't think Dallas was coming out. I'm sorry, Lamar. I didn't think Dallas was coming out.
Don't feel bad, because look, I honestly felt like when the playoffs started, I felt like, okay, if we can get the Clippers I felt like we could at least get to the Western Conference Finals, at least.
For sure.
Now, I thought we were going to see Denver there, but I didn't think we were going to see Minnesota there. And so I guess that kind of changed everything. And to be honest with you, regardless of what, I mean, it's a good year no matter what happens here, if that's the case here. But, you know, with us being there now, I mean, you kind of want to win it and everything else like that. But I'll piggyback off of what you said, too, about the three-point shooting. You know, them going 16 for 42. It just wasn't one person that was killing them with those shots there. I mean, the stat line that they had on ESPN said 7 guys had multiple three-pointers, made multiple three-pointers. And how do you really get a chance to defend against that? That's kind of the crazy thing, because as good team defense that Dallas has played this playoffs, when everybody else is hitting, you know, you got Tatum hitting, you got Brown hitting, you got Holiday hitting, White hitting, Porzingis hitting, old man Horford hitting.
Woo.
Now that's like a problem right then and there here at this point. And hey, Jaylen Brown, one step closer to getting Finals MVP and finally getting the chance to go into his promise with Taylor Rooks.
I forgot about the Taylor Rooks promise.
I did. You know what that was, Ken?
Yes. It was 5 championships. It was supposed to be this year, right? You're supposed to be on the ship.
Yeah. Hey, man, that's what you do when you're like, yeah, girl, I got a job. Yeah, girl, I got my own place. I got a car.
Just start talking crazy.
Just start lying through your teeth, knowing you borrowed your homeboy's car to drive here, knowing you got your partner's shoes on right now. That's what Jaylen Brown was doing. Yo, we got a question in the comments, and everybody put your questions in your comments in the chat. You never know, we might just read them out here on the show. We got a question here. Speaking of old man Horford, do you think this is Horford, aka Old Yeller? You think this is his last season?
I think he's still got a couple more seasons in him. You know, like he's revolutionized his game. He's transformed his game, which has kept him in the league for so long. Like he used to be like a low post guy, and now he can do dribble handoffs. Obviously, he can shoot the 3 now. Like I didn't expect Al Horford to be in the league this long, and not just in the league, but like he's a rotational player. Like he started in the finals. Like, will Al Horford finally get his championship this year after being swept by LeBron for so many years?
Bro, I'm looking at it right now, and I'm just like, yo, has Al Horford been in the league since Barack Obama got elected the first time? Like that?
Yes.
He's got to be the only person. Was he the 06 or 07 draft class?
We can find out.
07.
With Durant.
07, right? Because they won back-to-back. Back-to-back at Florida.
All of his other teammates and just about everyone else from that 07 draft class, save Kevin Durant, is out of the league.
Right. And here's the other crazy thing. He could be the second person of that Florida team to get a championship if he wins it this year.
Wait, Corey Brewer won a championship?
With
Mavs 11. Yep.
He was on that team. You're right.
Think about that.
Right. I did have to think about that because when I think about that 2011, of course, Lamar, you're a Mavericks fan, so you know everybody that's on that team. You know, matter of fact, let's do this. Lamar, who was the 15th man on that 2011 Mavs team, Lamar? I know you know.
Oh, I know Brian Carter was the 12th man.
Former. Or what they call him, the janitor or something?
Yeah.
The custodian. Yep.
The custodian. That's what it was.
I was about to say the bus driver.
I know that team. I know that team for the wrong reasons.
Oh, yeah, you do. Oh,
I know that team for the wrong reasons.
Man, I know, Ken. I'll ask you this, Ken. I'll take you back down a bad memory lane. What did it feel like when LeBron James could not post up JJ Barea in the big?
God, man. You know, that one was so tough because it just felt like we were like the overwhelming favorites to win that. And we just like couldn't. And I just watched LeBron talk about this a couple of days ago. And he's like, you know, like in the playoff series, like if you cannot withstand the other team's runs, you have no chance. And he was like, against that Dallas series, Dallas would just go on runs. Like, they would be in the game, and Dallas would go on these runs that just went on for way too long. And they could not withstand it. And J.J. Barea got going. Our guards were old. Mike Bibby, Eddie House. Like, so J.J. Barea got going, and we couldn't stay in front of him, and Jason Terry. And obviously Dirk was on another level. And then, like, I hate that the Heat always get all this flack. Like, I mean, of course they were the favorite, but, like, they swept Kobe and the Lakers. And they swept the back-to-back champions, and they beat the Thunder. Like, Dirk, I mean, obviously we should, because it was kind of like we were up 2-1 and lost 3 straight. But Dirk was just on a historic tear that postseason. And this was after, I forgot about Caron Butler had got hurt. He cracked his knee in January. He was the second leading scorer.
Well, Ken, you know why that happened though, right? Why everybody like handles Miami like this? Not 3, not 4, not 5.
And that was deserving. And that felt like the longest offseason ever. Because it was the lockout next year.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, they win a championship, in June? We don't start the season till Christmas. So, like, it was all these talks and, like, is he the guy that we think he is? Is this a failure? All this stuff, man.
Look, Kennedy, forget First Take. I know they gave you hell in high school. I know they gave you hell. You caught hell because of the Cowboys. That was that 3-year 8-8 spell, and when LeBron pissed down his leg, it must have been rough for you.
Alex and Lamar, I remember that so vividly because that was my freshman year. That was my first year in public school. So, I'm talking about, we went at it in the morning before class, like in the cafeteria, at the cafeteria tables, we're like arguing, and it's like a LeBron group. I'm like the leader of the LeBron group. It's a Kobe group. It's a Durant group, and then you got like a little Carmelo table, and you got like a little D Rose table. You know what I mean? But they ain't really got too much say.
Y'all were a gang?
That's what it felt like. It felt like that to me. It felt like every day I had to be mentally prepared as to what I was going to say, right? And then being a Cowboys fan too. So Mondays could have been a great day.
Or hell.
Listen, I know we ain't talking about this, but I'll never forget. Tony Romo threw for 500 yards. We're playing Denver. We're playing Peyton Manning in Dallas. Tony Romo throws for 500 yards. They're going back and forth. I don't think it was a punt in the entire game. One of the best offensive games I watched. We get the ball last. First play that we get the ball with like 2 minutes left. Tony Romo throws a pick to, I think, Danny Trevathan. I'll never forget the name.
How do you remember that?
It's a regular season game. He throws a pick to Danny Trevathan. Oh, my gosh. He should have hit DeMarco Murray in the flat. We lost. I was sick. I showed up to school the next day with a hoodie on. They found me as soon as I walked in the door. There he is.
Oh.
But the LeBron games that year, to answer your question, they were rough because that year after they lose to Dallas, right, we play in that lockout shortened year. Every primetime game, it felt like we lost. Like to teams that I felt like we were going to play in the playoffs. Carmelo got traded to New York. We lost like 2. Like he missed the shot at the buzzer. He passed the shot at the buzzer. We lost to the Knicks. We lost to the Bulls, right?
Boston.
In crunch time situations. Boston, Oklahoma City, I think we split with them, right? So it was just like, I don't know if they're going to do it. They're going to blow this team up. This was the worst decision that I made to choose to be a Heat fan, right? I should have been a Thunder fan, I guess.
You didn't choose to be a Heat fan. You chose to be a LeBron fan, Kennedy.
Man. But yes, I had to go down that rabbit hole.
Hey,
you brought that up, though.
I did. Look, I will say this. It is interesting to know that we all have the same public school experience of folks arguing, cussing, fighting at 7 a.m. in the morning. Like the idea of being that amped that early in the morning. At this point, at my age now, I'm like, you must be a serial killer. Because there's no way I would be this amped about a damn thing that early in the morning. I'd be like, catch me at noon, maybe 1 or 2, but 7? Oh, drink bleach. Don't ask me about LeBron. Don't ask me about my mama, your mama. Jesus is. Don't ask me about Nathan. Okay, and y'all are and people out there arguing and fighting, and forget about the arguing and fighting. I don't know, Lamar. I don't know if they had Takis when you was in high school, but people drinking chocolate milk and eating Takis for breakfast, and
Big
then
Texas,
going to fight.
Big Texas honey buns. Oh my gosh.
I think the Takis came when I was a teacher and everything. But yeah, I mean, the stuff that I see now obviously is a bunch of hot Takis, hot Cheetos, hot fries, hot whatever, and everything else like that. And we just kind of like look at the kids now. It's like, don't you know that? Never mind.
Now I never got into any fights. But the closest I was that Green Bay playoff game.
Hold on. I'm glad you said that and not like about a LeBron thing. I'm like, you shouldn't tell people that.
Well, see, the things that the times that LeBron's teams would lose, we weren't in school.
That's fair.
So like we were like that was always in June. Like I'm out of school, so I'm not seeing anybody. But that Green Bay game in Green Bay, oh my gosh, when they said he didn't catch it. When they say he didn't catch it, and I had to go to school the next day, I was sick. I didn't want anybody to say anything to me about that game. And what used to kill me, I used to hate this question. What happened? I watched the same game that you did. I wasn't on the sideline. I wasn't calling the plays. You tell me. You saw it. You saw it too. We went. What did we go, Lamar, that year? What?
13-3.
I think it was either 13-3 or 12-4. I think it might have been 12-4 because I think we lost to the Giants. But we beat Seattle. I remember that we beat Seattle in Seattle, and that was who Green Bay played next. And I didn't even kind of like factor in Green Bay. I'm like, I know Aaron Rodgers is good, but like, I think we can beat these dudes. And I knew we could beat Seattle because we had already beat them in Seattle. I thought that was our year.
Kennedy, I would be respectful to you, Lamar, and the rest of the Cowboy fans that are out there. Y'all think every year is y'all's year, but we got a whole lot of time to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. We got time, baby. We got time to talk about EBW Jason Garrett. We got tons of time. Oh, we got time. Pour up some more. Whatever you got over there, Ken. Pour up some more because I see you getting stressed. I'm looking at you right now. You're stressed. I see it. So
me and Lamar pouring Pepsi.
We got another question in the chat. The homie Stone asked, off topic, but what are your thoughts on the Lakers potentially hiring Hurley as the next head coach? Lamar, we'll start with you.
I think it's an interesting hire in that case too. It's true. We were thinking it was going to be JJ Redick, hiring a guy which really had no coaching experience, but basically is one of the best basketball minds. But this one went way out of left field here. Especially I thought Dan Hurley was going to pretty much stay at UConn after the Kentucky job became open, and he said no to that one. So I guess giving him the bag is probably a good reason to probably change your mind on a lot of things here. But it's kind of crazy because I think isn't he Harbaugh's brother-in-law or something like that?
Hurley?
You know what? I think you might be right.
I'm looking it up now.
And I know they're close somehow. So I guess it kind of reeks a little bit of that here. But it will be interesting to see. But usually we don't see too many college guys make that adjustment to the NBA, like talking about, unless you're kind of like Billy Donovan, and even Billy Donovan has had kind of like medium pretty much success. So I mean, aim for effort, I guess.
Ken, I'll let you. I'll let you take it next because we talked about this a lot this morning on the text.
We did. So I have a couple of different things about it, but the first thing that I like is that it is kind of like an unconventional hire, right? So I think teams like the Lakers, like you have to bring somebody that is of interest, right, to the organization and to the fan base, right? Alex is right. Like we were talking about it earlier. I didn't want another recycled NBA coach. You know what I mean? Like another coach that's been fired every 3 or 4 years. Like I like Monty Williams. I'm not saying he was a candidate, but like I didn't want another Monty Williams, or like I didn't want Mike Budenholzer. I don't want James Borrego, right? Like these are all people that have been around the league. They've had good stints, right? And then they've been fired, right? Give me somebody that this is their first time, right? Like I'm not gonna say I was thrilled about JJ Redick, but I was intrigued. I was intrigued about what he could do. Dan Hurley, like these are the type of hires that an organization like the Lakers have to make. Like, if you can't bring in a Hall of Fame coach, why not try and bring in the guy that's won the last 2 championships in college, right? Who has given indications that he wants to coach in the NBA, rumors that he doesn't want to deal with NILs, right? And people transferring all the time. He wants to move up. What else does he have to prove in college? And he's proven that, and he's, it's well known around circles that he's a great X's and O's guy, right? Which I think would translate over better than somebody like, and I'm not gonna say Rick Pitino's not, but obviously Rick Pitino's a great recruiter, right? I think that this translates over. Don't say it out. But I think this translates better to the professional game because people like teachers that know what they're talking about. They like teachers that know what they're talking about. And so also, I've been reading a lot about it. They are excited that, he may be able to develop the young guys better. Austin Reeves, Hachimura, Max Christie, who they drafted a couple of years ago, right? And I think that he will. But the question is, can you get the job done? Because the rumor is, this is the rumor, and now that it's been leaked, right, everybody's just automatically assuming. Now, they say he's flying tomorrow to, like, meet with him. I don't think he's flying all the way to LA to say, thank you, I'm okay. Like, I'm going to stay in UConn. But this same situation happened 15, 16 years ago when the Lakers were rumored to get Coach K.
Mm-hmm.
You can't not get the job done twice. Like, you got to figure out a way to get him now that you've leaked it, right? And maybe you hire JJ as a coach. I mean, as an assistant coach, right? Maybe you can do something of that nature. But I do believe that it is the right move for this organization.
For me, when I first heard the name JJ Redick, I was like, all right, so that's LeBron's homeboy. Right? It's like, oh, it's very clear LeBron's still in charge here, right? Because it's like, what other qualification does JJ Redick have other than being LeBron's homeboy, right? Because let's be honest, every NBA coach is a bright basketball mind, right? But being a bright basketball mind or a bright football mind or being very knowledgeable about something, no matter what it is, we could be talking about physics, history, government. Just because you're knowledgeable doesn't mean
For sure.
you are good at communicating the information and getting others to do as you would like, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that, because in my head, I'm thinking, so you're going to tell me you're going to drop a first-time head coach into this pressure cooker of a job. I'm like, this is a recipe for failure right here, right? Now, who did I think they could or should hire? Like Stone in the comments said, I'm like, all right, maybe Sam Cassell, maybe Sam Cassell, right? Like he would be a guy who's been around as an assistant in a number of different places, who hasn't gotten a head coaching opportunity now. I think, where is he? He's like the second in command in Boston. Okay. Like,
Okay.
maybe a guy like Sam Cassell, right? But past that, I wouldn't have known where else they go, right? And I think for college coaches, whether it be college, going from college football to pro, or college basketball to pro basketball, the biggest thing that is, can you deal with grown-ups?
Mm-hmm.
Can you deal with grown-ups, and do grown-ups want to deal with you, right? Because college coaches, especially in the previous era, pre-NIL, pre-unlimited transfers, the portal, all of that, there was ego, and there was such a power dynamic between the coach, the head coach, and the labor force, to where you had all of the control. And it's that the power imbalance is much different in the NBA, because this is going to be what LeBron James is going to be in if he resigns. I assume he is, because every time, like, if there's any rumor about LeBron James not resigning, he doesn't. If there's serious talk about it, he's not. There hasn't been serious talk this time, so I assume he's going to be back with the Lakers in the fall. This is going to be coach number 4 in 7 years.
Right.
Like in the NBA, the players can and will get you fired. Regardless if you make the playoffs or not. They can just be like, nah, man, we're checked out on this guy. He got to roll. Right? So
David Blatt.
Yeah, David Blatt.
Elon.
What's my man's name? And he just lost his job in Phoenix. He was a one and done. Frank Vogel. Yeah. They seem to be out on him, and because they were like, Frank Vogel's not a screaming type of guy, but they were like, he was in the locker room a couple of months ago, like towards the end of the year. They were like screaming at the top of his lungs, and they were like, those dudes just looking at him like sniggling. Like
that dude's
NBA Griffin.
Say that again, Ken.
That dude's NBA champ.
Yeah, but I think one of the things there is, you're trying to be like, you see, like you're putting on right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you just lean into who you are, if you are believable in who and what you are, I feel like people will rock with you regardless. You know what I'm saying? Like me and Ken, we talked about it earlier this morning. Mike McDaniel don't try to be tough guy. Mike McDaniel don't try to be big bad dude. Mike McDaniel is nerdy. He wear his sneakers. He likes his Yeezys. He can scheme the run game.
Sideline.
Right. He is himself. And people are like, you know what? He different, but I like it. Yeah, right. It's like, man, as long as you are you, and you know who and what you are, and you're comfortable in that, and you're comfortable projecting that, and you know your stuff.
Yep.
Because I think if you don't know your stuff and you can't help people be better, whether it's like, whether we're talking about like academically or like on a court or whatever like that, like if you don't know your stuff, because that's what I think happened with Darvin Ham. They were like, this dude, he can't help us. He can't help me become a better basketball player, nor is he going to help us win. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what they said. Like, I mean, like, obviously it's all rumors, but they questioned his work ethic and how prepared they were going into games, right? Nothing about him as a person, right? Just about, like you said, can you make me better? Can you make the team better? And do I think Dan Hurley can make the Lakers team better? Yes, I do. Now, I mean, obviously, it kind of depends on roster decisions too, right? Like, he's a very great X's and O's guy. Like, you got to bring some guys that can put the ball in the hole. That was kind of the thing that hurt Frank Vogel. He's a defensive-minded coach, and you give him all offensive-minded, individuals, right? He can't do everything. And again, these guys are pros, so they're gonna do whatever they want to do. At the end of the day, like if they don't see it working how they want it to work, they're gonna do what they want to do to help them feel like they give themselves a chance to win. So I see in the comments, Stone said, I'd rather have Rondo as the assistant coach. I would love it, right? Because I think if you do hire a guy like Dan Hurley, you got to surround him with guys that have been in the league, surround him with guys that have the pedigree and the respect that players are going to gravitate to, like Rondo, like Jared Dudley, who, they, by all accounts, had that locker room in the 2020 year in the bubble, right? He was one of the leaders in that locker room. Like a JJ Redick, right? Like, I think all of those guys have respect around the league. And if you have the head guy who you feel is prepared, and he might be a little wacky and he's coming from college, right? But then, like, we brought up Mike McDaniel. We also brought up Brad Stevens, right?
Yeah.
That dude plays Pac-Man before every game. Like, I read his book. He plays Pac-Man in his basement, and on the morning of his game days, right? That's not a typical NBA coach. And you don't really see him shouting and hollering on the sidelines. He was just standing there with his arms folded, right? But that dude made 2 or 3 Eastern Conference Finals and was regarded as one of the best coaches in the league when he was doing it, because he was just himself. And him being himself, he was also a great teacher of the game. And so if that translates over and those guys buy in, and then it comes out today that the management, you guys need to hire a coach, not just for me, but for the entire team, even when I'm gone. And so I do think Dan Hurley would be a better coach for a younger team to start off, right? A team that is not actively trying to win a championship. You could say the Lakers aren't contenders, but they feel that they're trying to win a championship, right? I think he would be better suited for, maybe a team that's just around Anthony Davis and some more younger guys. But I think that this team isn't that far off. And maybe a couple of moves, and maybe he comes in and shakes something up. And I think they could be okay.
Lamar?
I pretty much agree right there. I will say this. I mean, I was looking at Instagram when the story came out, as I was, taking a break. Somebody said, well, maybe the Lakers should try to kick the tires on Mark Jackson. And the person that said that, Silk the Shocker.
I don't want to hear a damn thing Silk the Shocker has to say. Look, ooh. Look, Lamar, you from Louisiana, so I'm not going to try to be too disrespectful. Silk the Shocker is the worst rapper I've ever heard in my life. Oh my God. I will never forget with that man, how he desecrated that last verse on I Miss My Homies. Like Master P tried, Pimp C did his thing, and here comes Silk the Shocker. 4 bars in and he's off beat. Like that, I'm about to sound like Kennedy did talking about Solomon Hill. Like Silk the Shocker, every time he went into the studio and they pressed record, they were committing war crimes. Okay.
Did y'all see that beam? Did y'all see the beam? The beam that it has, like, of Usain Bolt just outrunning everybody? And They said, Usain Bolt is Silk the Shocker, and then everybody else is the beat.
Hey, here's the thing. You can say that about the City Girls, Sexy Red. You can say that about so many people because they are fighting the beat. Fighting it, I tell you. Fighting it. We got another question. Y'all think Ime Udoka's watching the finals? No, Ime Udoka's not watching the finals. He's at mercy having the time of his life. You think he's at James Harden? What's James Harden's spot called?
13.
He's probably there acting a fool right here. Ime Udoka don't have a care in the world.
He's probably in dreams.
Ime is 3 old fashions in, talking about putting somebody's child through, talking about putting some 23, 24-year-old through nursing school right now. He's going to come home smelling like hookah and mid-grade marijuana.
Yeah, he ain't paying attention to these finals.
He ain't even paying attention. Well, he can pay his child support. He'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Email me.
Would they retire his jersey, or what would they do if he ever got to the point that like Harden, in retiring? Would they retire his jersey, the quarter zip?
Hold
What
on,
would
hold
they
on.
do?
Who would retire his jersey? Dreams or the Celtics?
No, I'm talking about the strip club.
Oh, because he can't come back to Boston.
Mm-mm.
Look, I think the club would retire Ime's jersey. I think they would.
Zip tie.
Hey, look, that quarter zip is totally like the Ime Udoka. Because, kid, I don't know. You wear the quarter zip to coach, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Kid, one day I was gonna wear the quarter zip in my cement ones to teach, right? And I did, right? I'm about to leave. I asked my lady, how do I look? She said, why you look like Nia Long ex-husband. Like you about to call a timeout and go yell at a ref. Now come on, you know that was foul. And I'm just like this. And it wasn't nothing I could say. Because she was right. I did. Oh, man. And that is another episode of the Game Plan Podcast. Kennedy Miller, my guy.
Yes, sir.
Man,
Pleasure
where can the folks find you on the artist formerly known as Twitter?
You can find me on Twitter at _Kennedy Miller _. Again, that's _Kennedy, not like the Kennedy that knocked Caden Clark down. _Kennedy Miller _.
All right. Lamar Gafford, my boy.
What's up?
Let the folks know where they can find all your work, Sinla Preps, all of that, man.
Yeah, so you can find me once again on Twitter, Lamar Gafford, all in one word. Once again, that's Lamar Gafford, all in one word. Also, sinlawpreps.com. We should have some all area stuff coming up very, very soon. I know I'm behind on basketball, but hey, we should have basketball, track, baseball, softball. So hopefully we should have something like that before July.
All right. You guys can follow me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. Again, that's on Twitter at Alex Goodwin TSM. That's T as in Tatum, like Jason Tatum. S as in Sam Hauser. He still plays for the Celtics, right?
He sure does.
And M as in Mavericks, like the Dallas Mavericks, who are down 0-1 in these NBA finals to the Boston Celtics. Don't forget, follow the show on Instagram at _the Game Plan Podcast. Again, follow the show on our official Instagram at _the Game Plan Podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Game Plan Podcast on our official YouTube channel. Wherever you're listening, however you're listening, we appreciate you guys for listening and for watching. For Lamar Gafford and Kennedy Miller, my name is Alex Goodwin. This has been the Game Plan Podcast. We will see you guys after game 2. You guys take it light.